Hello everyone, this is True Sustainability. I'm Brian. I'm over here at Mesa Community College and I'm doing a video of sustainability. I have an expert here, Karen, that's going to show me what they have growing on here in their garden area. We're also going to speak to another expert later on in the day, and that will be for the aquaponic systems and all that kind of thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn the time over to Karen, and she's gonna explain what she's been doing here on campus, and it's gonna be a really cool tour, so you stay tuned. All right, hello Karen.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm the lab technician here at Mesa Community College. Just gonna show you around the garden area, also the garden teacher. So kind of what we have going on. This is a little test plot to my right here where we're growing root vegetables because it is the season for that. We have beets, we have carrots, we have some spinach and some onions coming in.
All right.
To the left we have our flower area, which brings in our pollinators. It's currently dormant. We are not solarizing per se because I still have the water running, and that's keeping the microorganisms alive. And there's also green matter, so whatever was living before, we kind of just chopped it down, let it decompose, and help the microbiology in the soil. So when we do plant, we have not a dormant soil, but one that's living, so better to plant in. And then straight ahead of me is our garden class, and each student gets a row, and it's basically I teach them how to grow in the season that we're in. So we have two seasons, the warm season, cooler season. Right now it's kind of both. We actually have tomatoes growing, and typically you would grow your leafies and your root vegetables at this time of year. But we're gonna kind of ride it out with the hot temperatures and see what we can produce. So a lot of the bigger plants you see are tomato plants, and a lot of the smaller ones are flowers, beans, chard, carrots, all sorts of things. So each student gets to plant whatever they desire in their row. They have a 40-foot row, it's about 30 inches wide, and we use drip tape to water each row. And the best thing about drip tape is it has 4 to 6 inch diameter around the plant. Each line is about 6 inches apart, so it helps save water. We're saving water here because it's designated for that plant and it goes down to that plant root zone. So we don't use water that sprays out everywhere. We don't use a hose, so we're watering just specifically for that plant that's planted by the row, each by the drip tape, excuse me. And that's one of the sustainable ways that we use our water out here. Instead of just kind of flood irrigating, we don't do things like that. We don't overhead water, so water's just dispersed everywhere. Bermuda's a big struggle here, and the more water that is just kind of sprayed out everywhere is pointless, and it just creates a weed and a pest for us. Speaking of pests, that one of the ways we do out here, because it is organic, so we try the simple processes of just hand picking things off, spraying it off with a hose, or soapy water. Last resort, we try to use neem or BT, but that's really on the far end of the scale. We really try to just hand pick or use some soapy water. If we want to take a closer look, we can go into the garden.
Yeah, let's go and do that.
Planting marigolds actually helps resist pests. So just the smell of them, it's a good companion plant you plant in there, and it helps deter pests. Excuse me. Another thing that we do to house pests that are actually beneficial, like lady beetles, is dill. We let the dill go to seed, and lady beetles just love it. They create a hotel out of it. It's like a huge lady beetle condo, and ladybugs eat insects. So
And you say during the winter season you only water how many times?
Oh yes, excuse me. We water once a day in the morning and for about 30 minutes, and that provides ample amount of water for the garden. As you can see, it's flourishing right now. And in the summertime, because it is hotter, we'll water twice. We'll water once in the morning for 30 minutes and once in the evening for 30 minutes. We don't like to water in the evening during the winter because it's too cold. We water in the morning so it has time to aid the plants and then not sit and create other issues, fungi and things like that would come in that would be detrimental to the garden because it doesn't
Right.
have time to evaporate or go away. It'll stay, it'll be wet, so it'll be too wet.
And then you said right now the compost pile is not as good as it normally is, but you guys do natural composting here, right?
We do compost, so we'll bring in a delivery of compost and we'll add compost to our rows. This year we are fortunate enough to have a student that has a goat farm, so she donated goat manure, which is a great nitrogen, a slow release, and it blended well into the soil. It won't burn the plants. So that was kind of just a donation, and we lucked out on that, having a student that was able to bring that in. And we make compost tea, so we'll use fish emulsion and molasses and a mushroom compost, and we'll let that ferment for 2 days, and then we'll foliar feed or just put it in the soil. So we're feeding our plants that way. That's one of the fertilizers that we use because we don't use any synthetic fertilizer.
And that's probably why these plants are so big and healthy, guys.
Yes, you can see we have some beans growing now.
Beautiful. I like it when my planters get down into the dirt and show us what's going on. It's beautiful. Yes.
Oh, excuse me.
Let's check this out. Let's get a little bit of a close-up here on that bee that's resting on that flower. That
Marigold.
is
These are seeds we
really
harvest
beautiful.
every year because saving seeds is beneficial as well. Not only does it save money, but selecting marigolds that grow hip high is amazing. And because they are such a beneficial, obviously self-pollinator, and they are pest deterrent, seed selecting is optimal. Like, you can save the biggest and the best, and these are just seeds that we've saved year after year and that we replant in the garden.
Yep, that's definitely a sustainable effort as well. So it sounds like in every bit of what is done here at Mesa Community College in this garden, they're trying to do sustainability. They're trying to save seeds. They're trying to think about what partner plants go together, like these marigolds that are going to fight off the pests. They're trying to think about the soil health and biology, and trying to incorporate all of those different factors into their garden to keep it alive. They want the soil biology alive and thriving and healthy, and make it natural so that everything cohesively works together. So let's go ahead and see some more beautiful things in this garden. I always love seeing these growing vegetables. So that cucumber is a little bit smaller than mine. I'm just gonna brag for a second. My cucumber was pretty giant, but you know.
Well, variety. Is yours an Armenian?
Yeah, it's an Armenian.
So
Okay,
Armenians
okay,
naturally
okay.
get bigger.
All right, all
That is
right.
a very delicious cucumber naturally grown in the garden.
Absolutely, and that is a smaller variety. I was playing around with Karen there for a minute.
It's okay. A little garden banter there. Some beets ready to harvest
That's
when
a
the
nice
student
beet
returns.
right there.
A
Yep.
beet is actually edible top to bottom, root to tip. You can eat the leaves as well as the beet.
So what kind of nutrients are in beets? Let's just talk about that for a minute.
Put me on the spot.
Isn't there some iron and different types of really good, anything that's root bound is going to have quite a bit of nutrients. One of the superfoods per se, so it actually has quite a few nutrients in it. We won't list them all for Karen, but it's really a very healthy thing. Also, the color of this is a nice deep purple, so anything that has purple in it is going to give you some added punch of nutrients. So there's different types of lettuces, different types of root vegetables. There's also the peppers. That's going to give you some added nutrient uptake. So you always want to be thinking about that when you plant vegetables. Some are better than others as far as nutrients go. So we always try to think about that as well.
Absolutely. We have a golden beet here, so that'll be actually a more of an orange or a yellow beet as opposed to a red. But again, tip to top, root to tip is completely edible.
All right.
We have actually lettuce behind you. It's actually growing back. The student, we have class every Wednesday, so the student actually was able to harvest this lettuce, both purple and green, and we cut it to here. You can see where she cut it, and it actually grew. It'll grow back. You can get about 3 successions of lettuce here just by cutting it and letting it grow. This is all new growth from just a week.
So Karen's touching on another really cool subject here just by happenstance, which is amazing. I love doing these kind of interviews because it just speaks resonance about all the different gardeners, and the fact that they really dive deep into sustainability. So when you don't just pull the whole plant out of the ground, you actually use it over and over and over again until that plant doesn't produce anymore, and then you can take it out and then put it into the compost bin and break it down from there. But there's a lot of nutrients that will come from the ground and keep feeding those plants, and you can just cut them off and then eat them multiple times until that plant just decides that it can't do it anymore. But that's a great point. So let's go ahead and continue on in the tour.
Absolutely. I do believe when we were crouched down, I saw some red things over here. Those aren't Christmas lights, those are tomatoes. So this student's going to be thrilled. And while tomatoes aren't particularly grown this time of year, we are taking advantage, like I said, of the weather and getting a little bit of a crop before it's time.
Those little cherry tomatoes?
Absolutely.
Yes.
This one, since
Some
it
of my
fell off,
favorites.
I didn't take it off. It fell off. Everybody saw that. We'll give it a try.
She's gonna eat that. Oh man, nothing
best
better
tomato.
than that, right?
Yep.
Yep, that's what I love to do in my own garden. Anything that's just sitting there ready for the taking, I just pluck it off and eat it.
This is the dill I was talking about. If everyone didn't know what dill looked like, I believe it smells lovely, like pickles.
Yes, I love that smell as well. I got rosemary going on, and I love that smell.
And if you plant it, the ladybugs just love it. So once it goes to seed, we had one nearly as tall as me. I'm 5'7", and it just housed a ton of ladybugs. And ladybugs are one of the most beneficial insects you can have in your garden. Absolutely.
So that is what Karen's been touching on here and there with the garden, is being able to have beneficial bugs as well in your garden that are going to attack other non-beneficial bugs and eat them. That's an important factor about maintaining a healthy garden, food forest, anything that you guys are doing. Karen, I would really like if you'd share with me some dill seeds or maybe some cuttings if you have any, because I'm trying to build up my corner of herbs. So I'm on that path. It's just a long journey. When you start from scratch, there's so many things that need to be done. So
absolutely, we love this. We love to save seeds here, just so we have seeds in our pocket. It's just something we practice out here, and the importance of saving seeds so that you if you grow it and it grows in your garden and it's a great plant, then those are the seeds you're going to want to save. Those are the seeds that you're going to want to continue to grow. They become your heirlooms almost.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and move forward.
They have peas here in this row.
Oh, we got some snap peas going on here.
Yes.
Oh, those are beautiful. And that's a fairly small plant, everyone, and it's producing quite a few of these seed pods. So, you know, when you have a really healthy soil climate, you're gonna have a lot more fruit going on as well. So, as you've noticed, plants get bigger, healthier, fuller, and they also put off more fruit. They love healthy living soils, so that's what we have here.
And that's what we fertilize with that compost tea every 2 weeks.
Okay. Every 2 weeks is how often that they fertilize this with natural compost tea fertilizers. So that's beautiful, and you can constantly add. It's like a layering process that you do, and it never kind of goes away. You just keep actively feeding it, and then it just keeps growing back and back and back.
Absolutely.
So
that's it brought up a good point. This is a low-till, no-till practice as well, so we don't disturb the soil a lot. So we do continue to build the soil. Out here we use a broad fork, which has tines, and you basically rock the soil to aerate it, to create air spaces. And if the student chooses, or we have a rototiller with small tines, and it scratches just the surface. We don't go really below the surface. Some students, after they learn that module, they choose not to even disturb the soil at all. The only disturbing is planting their plant, or we'll do a transplant or a direct seed. It's their choosing. So that is one of the practices that we do out here as well, so we can continue to build our soil, because it takes quite a long time to build good, healthy soil.
So I see over here to my right that you have a nice little patch of sunflower. Is this, I'm assuming it's for the shade, to kind of shade this portion of the garden. So,
well, we don't have a lot of shade, and honestly that was planted because beyond it was a pumpkin patch that was killed off by the squash beetles this season, but it was kind of a barrier to start that. And I love sunflowers myself, plus they bring in the birds, the rosy the parakeets that come in, so they just feeding the birds, which help eat insects as well. So just having that environment, creating that ecosystem part. So shade to some degree. The best sun is actually from the east in the morning time, so not so much for shading the plants. That is why the loofah though is planted though, because it does block a lot of that western extreme heat that we have. So that actually helps shade the flower area that you saw covered up.
So that's where we started, everyone, in the beginning of the tour. I didn't talk too much about loofah. I think they grow like crazy, and it's a nice vining plant, but as far as usage for me, there's not quite as many uses for it. You can break it down and make it into like a cleaning kind of sponge, so that can help you to not have to go to the store and buy sponges, or be able to, you know, have sponges to clean your body with. So it is a good use, but once you have a fairly good amount of them, you kind of would have too many sponges. You may need to get rid of them or share them with other people, but that also builds community. So when you have a garden like this, it tends to bring people together, and you can share some of your resources. So what have you guys done with some of your exponential resources that you have with the community?
We definitely sell back to Mesa Community College, and those funds are put into the club, so the farmers club. And so if we have excess amount of produce that the students don't want to take here or don't want to give to each other, because I try to practice if you eat it, grow it. If you don't eat it, you shouldn't grow it. It's kind of just a waste of resource. There's really no sense in growing things that you don't want to eat yourself, or that you know you have a market for, or you have somebody to give to. That food waste is just not something we should practice out here. So I should try to avoid people planting things that they're personally not going to eat. There's really no sense in wasting food in my eyes. So we'll donate to the school, and the school will contribute a small amount of funds to buy the produce and give back to the club if we have excess amounts.
And so you briefly mentioned that some of this garden actually feeds some students as well.
Absolutely, they take everything home, or they trade it within each other. When somebody has a ton of chard, and they'll trade out for some cucumbers or some tomatoes or something, kind of like a little barter system around here, or a little trade.
So I've talked about this on one of my previous videos about the 3 pillars of sustainability, and the fact that it actually is part of the social and economic of those 3 pillars. And the reason for that is that the environment, when you get involved with this, it just creates a natural community. It also saves money because you have that resource that you didn't previously have. So like she was saying, if you don't have something and somebody else has a garden and they have those items and you have something that they don't have, well, now you have a barter system. All right, so thank you so much, Karen, for your efforts in taking me around to the MCC Garden. I just wanted to give a shout out to Mesa Community College and all their efforts to stay sustainable, to have these gardens, to have somewhere where the students can come and learn from Mother Nature. And I just want to let everyone know on my channel, and anyone who's new, that you are the change, you are sustainability, and you can do small and simple things and make a garden like this come to life in your own backyard. You can also do your homesteads, you can also do your food forest, you can do anything. You just have to start small and think about how you can map out what you're gonna do in the future. It's those small and simple steps that get you where you want to be and make the biggest impact in the world. So start small and do what you can. You have a great day.